Watergate building in Washington. This is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. For only the second time in Bush's tenure, Congress is preparing for a veto. Amy Walter, what's the Democrats' plan for when the bill comes back from that veto, back onto the Hill, and the fight begins anew?
Isn't that interesting,
nice.
right? It
It's
does.
just like
I like
Christmas
that, anew.
morning, yes.
Every day is a new day.
Yes.
That's dawning.
A battle begins.
I mean, it's become pretty clear that there's not an answer, right? If Democrats had the perfect answer for what their bill was going to look like once it was vetoed, then we probably would have seen it already.
Correct.
So I think that the contention is we're going to just keep fooling around with this, fiddling around on the edges to see what we can get to bring some Republicans on board. Because the bottom line is they got every Democrat they could possibly get here, and they're probably still going to lose in the House a handful of folks like a Jim Marshall or those other conservatives.
Right.
So let's find a way to pressure those Republicans who sit in those moderate, those swing districts, who know they're going to have a tough fight in a general election, bring them on board to give them a chance to, show some independence, some distance.
You're talking about the Senate or the House?
Well, I'm talking about, particularly in the House, but
Right.
in the Senate,
But
if
also
they
in
can
the
find a
Senate
way
too.
to do that too.
You need people. I mean, you got Hagel last week, which was a
right,
big
but you
deal.
need to get the Susan Collins and
Sununu
you need to get
and
Sununu, and you need to get the folks in that category.
Well, and you need to get people like Gordon Smith, people who have essentially signed off on this war.
That's right.
I mean, they no longer support President Bush
That's right.
on the war, but for some reason also don't want to sort of play into the Democratic trickery or whatever they think it is. And I think the Democrats really they'll have a good PR moment today with the mission accomplished. Sort of playing up to the mission accomplished anniversary. But I think in the long term, or actually even in the short term, it ends up sort of biting them in the arse, if you will.
That might be bleeped.
That might be bleeped,
Yes.
but you all know what I'm saying. Because ultimately it just looks like trickery, or it just looks like some tomfoolery to me. Thank you very much.
Or
Amy
it looks
Walter.
like, we discussed this the very first time I was on the show, which I still think of very fondly. And
As
at
do
that
I.
time, the discussion was, are Democrats really getting, playing sort of fast and loose here with the fact that they don't have, sort of what is their message, what's their agenda, who are they, what do they stand for, and does it look like they're simply gleeful for Republicans being in a very difficult state and trying to use this war funding vote as a political tool, or do they really want to get something done? Do they really want to accomplish something? And this continues to be the issue here, which I think for voters, they are fed up. They certainly don't like the status quo. They don't like the direction, but they're nervous about too much change, and they're nervous about there being no change because Democrats seem to be more interested in playing politics than getting something done.
Some Democrats, I think, are listening to you, including somebody like Jane Harman, a top member of the House Intelligence Committee, who Democrats looked as though they were getting manna from heaven. They have George Tenet, the former CIA director, come out over the weekend, 60 Minutes, and really trash the Bush administration on its handling of the lead up to the war and the manipulation of his slam dunk comment. But you saw Democrats like Jane Harman come out today or on Monday. And react very skeptically to him. Look, I mean, if this is what he thought, and this is what Jane Harman said, if this is what he thought and this is what he knew, where has he been for the past 3 years? And why did he accept the President's Medal of Honor? So you see, I think, a lot of Democrats stepping back from just accepting Tenet's criticism and trying, I think, to make a point of them, trying to, I think, at this point, to be a little more objective about the situation.
Indeed.
Indeed, indeed.
Lots more to talk about, but we can't.
We just can't, because your attention span is too short for us to be able to articulate our complexities. All right, phew, it's exhausting. This Bush exercising is presidential veto. Maybe he should stick to empty threats. Thank you very much for joining us on Hotline TV. We'll see you on Thursday.